Hi everyone. In this video, we will cover capital and revenue expenditures and receipts, which is one of the important topic of CA Foundation accounts. Okay, Unit 3 of Chapter 1. So let's get started. So what are capital expenditures and revenue expenditures? Why there is an importance of these kinds of bifurcation in expenditure? Okay, these kind of bifurcation are important because whenever company wants to present its financial statements or record the transactions and events, they should be able to bifurcate between operational expenses and non-operational expenses. Okay, they should be able to know on day to day what and all expenditures company is incurring and what are the big or large investments that company is incurring. Okay, so these are the main purpose for which there is an bifurcation of expenditure, that is capital expenditure and revenue expenditure. Revenue expenditures are recurring in nature, matlab revenue expenditures are related to day operations of the business, and whereas capital expenditures are non recurring in nature, matlab it is one time expenditure. Okay, so here you will learn how to recognize and how to classify the capital and revenue expenditures and use these ideas to prepare financial accounts correctly, following accounting rules and making financial reports clear. This is the main purpose for which we need to bifurcate the expenditures. Now coming to understanding capital versus revenue expenditure. Capital expenditure spends money on things that last a long time and help earn money for many years. These are recorded as assets on balance sheet and gradually counted as expenses as they can help earn income. So capital expenditures are incurred over the period of time. Matlab revenue expenditure whereas incurred in an accounting period, in one accounting period, whereas capital expenditures are incurred over the longer period of time. मतलब benefits जो भी हम expenditure capital expenditure का करते हैं उसका benefits हम long term के लिए ले सकते हैं. This is the capital expenditure. मतलब you have purchased a furniture or you have purchased for some machinery, and the useful life of that furniture or machinery is for example 5 or 10 years, then you can use that asset for 10 years. Okay, this is capital expenditure. And when those assets are depreciated on year basis, then that depreciation is charged in profit and loss account. Whereas in revenue expenditure, it includes day to day activities or day to day expenses such as rent paid, salaries paid, administrative expenses. All these are day to day and regular expenses which are happening in a day to day life of the business. Okay, this is a revenue expenditure and which is occurring in an accounting period, so that will go directly to profit and loss account, but capital expenditure will go to balance sheet as this is providing long term benefits to the business. Okay, ultimately all these expenses like capital and revenue expenses are going to profit and loss account only, but there is a time factor that matters because revenue expenditure are going to capital or charging to profit and loss account as and when they are incurred in an accounting period, but capital expenditures we are charging to profit and loss account when that uh, assets or when that furniture or machinery we are using and we are deducting the depreciation, at that time only we are charging those expenses to profit and loss account. Next, coming to key considerations in classification. What are the considerations or what are the factors we need when classifying the expenditures? On what basis we can classify the expenditure as a revenue expenditure or classify as a capital expenditure? So first one is nature of business. How the expense is classified depends on the type of business. Okay, the expenses, to classify the expenses nature of business is also one of the factor. On what basis or on what kind of nature the business has, on this basis we can classify the expenditure into capital and revenue. If the business is trading in say sale or purchase of the furniture, this is trading as an inventory, so this is inventory based business, so we can classify that expenditure as revenue expenditure because this is their day to day business. Okay, and if business is manufacturing those furnitures, it is a long term, or if the business is purchasing those furniture for some project, that is long term investment by the uh, company or by the business for earning benefits over the period of time. In that case, that business should classify this expenditure as capital expenditure. Now coming to recurring versus non-recurring. Recurring matlab ongoing expenses, day to day expenses. Non-recurring matlab it is one time expense. If the expense is on a recurring basis, for example, we are paying rent on a monthly basis, we are paying salaries to employees on a monthly basis, it is a recurring in nature. So this is classified as revenue expenditure. Now coming to non-recurring expenses, it is one time investment by the company, like business is purchasing some other business, this is one time activity, so this is capital expenditure. If business is purchasing some big machineries, big laptops or hundreds of laptops, this is also a large investment by the company for the future benefits, so this is also capital expenditure. Okay, so these kinds of factors are considered while classifying the expenses. Now coming to purpose and effect. Maintenance costs are regular expenses. Costs that improve capacity or bring future benefits are investments. Okay, repairs and maintenance. If we are incurring expenses for repairs and maintenance of the asset, or if of, so for example, AC or furniture or machines, then that is recurring expense, because we are like recurring, often we are spending money on repairs and maintenance. If we are spending money on maintenance of the asset which enhances production capacity or which enhances the benefit earning capacity of that asset, then that is classified as capital expenditure. Now coming to materiality, the size of amount also affects how it is classified. If the material amount is material and there is a big investment and we are generating more revenue or more profit from that big investment, then it is classified as capitalized expenditure or capital expenditure. Otherwise, it will be recognized as revenue expenditure. Okay. Now coming to capital versus revenue expenditure difference. What are the differences between capital and revenue expenditures? First one is benefit period. Capital expenditure lasts a long time for several years. Revenue expenditure only for this year or accounting period. So capital expenditures are expended for over a period of time. Matlab long, we see long term benefits over capital expenditures, and revenue expenditures are the day to day expenses which are expensed off in an accounting period. In one accounting period, it is short term. Basically, capital expenditure are long term and revenue expenditure are short term. Now, purpose to improve or increase the value, to improve or enhance the earning capacity of the business or enhance the productive capacity of the asset. This is capital expenditure. And to keep things working, matlab maintenance or keep business operating, the expenses which are in operational nature, these are called as revenue expenditure. For example, buying machine for buildings is capital expenditure. Long investment is there and large amount of investment is there. And revenue expenditure, fixing things like repairs and maintenance, providing salaries, providing administrative expenses, or providing rent to the landlord, all these are termed as, or all these are called as revenue expenditures. So here are some more examples about classification of expenditure. Legal fees, acquisition fees for capital. Matlab whenever we are paying legal fees for acquiring some assets or assets or machineries, these are included as a capital expenditure, because these are considered as the capital assets, or these are considered as the costs which are incurred for bringing that asset to working condition. So this is classified as capital expenditure. Whereas repairs and maintenance, which enhances the capacity of the assets, then this is classified as capital expenditure. Otherwise, if there is a routine repairs, then it is classified as revenue expenditure. Now, temporary structures necessary for assets construction, thus capitalized. If we are spending for asset construction, then that expenditure is classified as capital expenditure. So now we can see some of the like illustrations from ICAI study material here, so that we will be able to recognize, or we will be able to classify the expenses as revenue or capital. So here first one is overall expenses of second hand machinery purchased are revenue expenditure. True or false? No, it is false, because we are enhancing, or we are expending some expenditures for improving the earning capacity or improving the productivity of second hand machinery. So this is capital expenditure and not revenue expenditure. For example, see here, overall expenses are incurred to put second hand machinery in working condition to derive long term advantage, so it should be capitalized. Now coming to second one, money spent to reduce working expenses is revenue expenditure. False. It may be reasonably presumed that money spent for reducing revenue expenditure would have generated long term benefits to the entity, so this is capital expenditure. Legal fees to acquire property is capital expenditure. True. Legal fees paid to acquire any property is part of the cost of that property. It is incurred to possess the ownership right of the property and hence capital expenditure. This cost is incurred to make that asset or make that property available in a working condition or to acquire the ownership right. So this is capital expenditure. Now coming to amount spent as lawyer's fee to defend a lawsuit claiming that the firm's factory site belonged to a plaintiff's land is capital expenditure. This is false. Legal expenses incurred to defend a suit claiming that firm's factory site belongs to someone is maintenance expenditure of that asset. By this expense, neither any benefit can be obtained in future in addition to that what is presently available, nor the capacity of the asset will be increased. Maintenance expenditure in relation to an asset is revenue expenditure. Here it is considered as a maintenance expenditure. It is not increasing any benefit for the property, or it is not in enhancing earning capacity or production capacity of the property. So this is classified as revenue expenditure. Amount spent for replacement of worn out part of machine is capital expenditure. False. Amount spent for replacement of any worn out part of machine is revenue expense since it is part of maintenance cost. Okay, since it is part of repairs and maintenance cost. Expenses incurred on the repairs and whitewashing for the first time on purchase of an old building are revenue expenditure. False. Repairing and whitewashing expenses for the first time of an old building are incurred to put building in usable condition. These are part of the cost of building. Accordingly, these are capital expenditure. Okay? Now, expenses in connection with obtaining a license for running a cinema is capital expenditure. True, the cinema hall could not be started without license. Expenditure incurred to obtain the license is pre-operative expense which is capitalized. Such expenses are amortized over a period of time because it is intangible asset. It is considered as an intangible asset in the balance sheet and it is amortized over a period of time. So it is providing long-term benefits. So this is capital expenditure, and whenever we are amortizing those expenses over a period of time, that in that accounting period we are charging that amortization expenses to profit and loss account. Eighth one is amount spent for the construction of a temporary huts which were necessary for construction of the cinema house and were demolished when the cinema house was ready is capital expenditure. True. Cost of a temporary huts constructed which were necessary for the construction of the cinema house is part of the construction cost of the cinema house. Okay? Then this is capital expenditure. Therefore, it is capital expenditure. Now coming to illustration 2, state with reasons whether the following are capital or revenue expenditure. Expenses incurred in connection with obtaining a license for starting the factory for rupees 10,000. Money paid 10,000 for licensing fee is capital expenditure because it is considered as an intangible asset and it is amortized over a period of time and it is capital expenditure. Okay. For CEO, this is an item of expenditure incurred to acquire the right to carry on the business. Rupees 1,000 paid to removal of inventory to a new site. Rupees 1,000 paid for removal of inventory to a new site is revenue expenditure. This is neither bringing any benefit nor enhancing the value of the asset. Rings and pistons of an engine were changed at a cost of 5,000 to get fuel efficiency. Okay, this is capital expenditure because this is enhancing the capacity of the guns or rings or pistons. So this is improvement in a fixed asset. So this is capital expenditure. It is increasing the earning capacity or profit earning capacity of the asset. Money paid to Mahanagar Telephone Nigam Limited 8,000 for installing telephone in the office. Okay. Money deposited with the MTNL for installation of telephone in office is not expenditure. This is treated as an asset and the same is adjusted over a period of time against actual telephone bills. If we are providing security deposit to the like electricity board, then this is considered as an asset but not as an expenditure. So it is deducted from as and when bills are generated. A factory shed was constructed at a cost of rupees 1 lakh. A sum of 5,000 had been incurred in the construction of temporary huts for storing building material. This is capital expenditure because we are like we are providing for construction of the huts which is construction cost. So this is capital expenditure and building is the fixed asset which will generate benefit to the business over more than one accounting period, and construction of temporary hut is incidental to the main construction. Such cost is also capitalized with the cost of building. Now coming to illustration 3, Best Tech Solution buys and sells computer as a part of its business. It purchased 20 computers for resale to its customers. Cost of each computer is 20,000 rupees. It also purchased a computer costing 24,000 for its accountant to be able to maintain the accounting records and printing of invoices. Suggest whether above transactions qualify as a capital expenditure or revenue expenditure transactions. ठीक है, solution is Best Tech Solution is in the business of buying and selling of computers. Any computers purchased for resale to its customer will be termed as revenue expenditure. As in initial session or start of the session, I have explained you, if the business nature of business, ठीक है, this is classifying the expenditure as per the nature of the business. If the nature of the business is trading, then those expenditures are classified as revenue expenditure. Here, Best Tech Solution is buying and selling of the computers. This is the main activity of the business, operational activity of the business, and they are doing this on a day-to-day basis. So this is revenue expenditure for them. Hence, a purchase of 20 computers for rupees 20,000, that is 4 lakh, will be part of revenue expenditure. At the same time, the computer purchased for maintaining the records and invoicing is to be able to operate the business for a longer period of time. So this should be capitalized as a this should be qualified as a capital expenditure, or this should be classified as a capital expenditure, because this is one time investment, and it is providing long term benefit to the company, because they are going to use this laptop or computer for over more than one accounting period. So this should be classified as capital expenditure. This amount will be part of asset in the balance sheet, and this amount will be like recognized as a revenue in profit and loss account, revenue expenditure. Okay, now coming to capital receipts and revenue receipts. Okay, capital receipts and revenue receipts. Capital receipts, which is non-recurring, not from core operation of the business. This is just opposite of capital expenditures. ठीक है, this is also non-recurring, मतलब this is not a recurring expense or recurring income or frequent income. For example, sale of fixed asset, this is one time sale of fixed asset, long term asset. So we are earning profit from sale of asset, then that profit or that amount which we are getting from sale of asset is considered as the capital receipts. Whereas revenue receipt is a recurring nature, and it is the normal activity of the business. If we are selling computers on day-to-day operations, the amount which we are earning through selling those computers or laptops, these are considered as revenue receipts. Whereas the amounts which are purchasing on a daily basis or on a day-to-day operation basis, that is considered as revenue expenditure. So it is recurring in nature revenue receipts, and capital receipts is non-recurring in nature. Accounting treatment: capital receipts directly go to balance sheet, and revenue receipts are recorded in the profit and loss account. These are the differences between capital and revenue receipts. Okay, case studies, if you are see, sale of asset, proceeds are capital receipts, profit portion goes to profit and loss account. Sale of asset, for example, the carrying value of the asset is 90,000. For example, furniture, consider furniture as an example, and the cost of that furniture is 90,000. And if the company is going to sell that asset today for 92,000, okay, this is actually a capital receipt, because we are selling long term asset, or we are selling the fixed asset to other client, and we are getting money from that client. So that amount is considered as capital receipt, and accounting treatment is we are deducting 90,000 from that 92,000, and the benefit is of 2,000, which is profit on sale of asset. That 2,000 will be recorded in profit and loss account, and remaining 90,000 will be deducted from the balance sheet. Okay, now interest income, it is also a revenue receipt directly recorded in profit and loss account. Temporary huts, construction cost is capitalized as a part of the main asset, and insurance claims for asset loss are capital receipts. Now we'll see some examples here in study material. So if you can see here, when a fixed asset is sold for 92,000, the cost is 90,000, the capital receipts are 92,000. is not credited to profit and loss account, but it will be directly deducted from the balance sheet. Profit or loss on sale of fixed asset is calculated and credited to profit and loss account. So sale proceed is 92,000, cost is 90,000, so profit is 2,000, which will directly go to profit and loss account. Now coming to illustration 4, state with reason whether the below items are relating to the business of AB Limited or capital or revenue receipts. A machine with a book value of 10 lakh is sold for 12 lakh. 12 lakh is our capital receipt because a machine is a long-term asset and we are selling those assets. So this is capital receipt. And the amount of rupees 2 lakh will be charged to profit and loss account as a profit on sale of machine. Premium amounting to rupees 1 lakh received on issue of shares. Premium received on issue of share is an example of a capital receipt. Okay, because shares are the capital in nature and these are providing long-term benefits to the company. So on issue of shares, if we are receiving any premium, then that is considered as capital receipt. An amount of 20,000 received from goods sold in cash. Amount received from cash sale is always revenue receipt. An amount of an amount of 5 lakh received on the maturity of fixed deposit from bank. Also an interest of 40,000 was received in addition to the maturity amount of the fixed asset. Amount received on the maturity of fixed asset is the recovery of the deposit amount and is capital receipt. Interest income is an example of revenue receipt. The amount which we are received, deposit, security deposit which we kept with the bank, or fixed deposit, security deposit which we kept with the landlord, for example, or fixed deposit which we kept with the bank, and if we are recovering those deposits back, and those are considered as capital receipt, but interest on those are considered as revenue receipt. Now coming to illustration 5. Good Pictures Limited construct a cinema house and incurs following expenditure during the first year ending 31st March 2022. Second-hand furniture worth 9,000 was purchased. Repainting of the furniture cost is 1,000 and the furniture was installed by own workman, wages for this being rupees 200. So here the total cost of the furniture should be treated as 10,200 because all the amounts mentioned should be capitalized, since without such expenditure the furniture would not be available for use. If 1,200 have been respectively debited to the repairs account and the wages account, these accounts will be credited to the furniture account, because all those expenditures are incurred to bring the asset or bring the furniture to working condition. So any expenditure incurred to bring that asset in a working condition, that expenditure should be capitalized and added to asset. Expenses in connection with obtaining a license for running the cinema worth rupees 2,000. During the course of the year, cinema company was fined rupees 1,000 for contravening rules. Renewal fee rupees 2,000 for the next year also paid. License for running the cinema house is necessary, hence it is capital expenditure because it is an investment before constructing the cinema house. So it is capitalized and it is amortized over a period of time as it is an intangible asset. But the fine of 1,000 is revenue expenditure. The renewal fee for the next year is also revenue expenditure, but pertains to the next year, hence it is a prepaid expense. Okay, renewal fee which is being paid in the next year, matlab it is related to next year, but we are paying that expenditure in current year only. So this is prepaid expenses and it should be recorded as an asset in the balance sheet. And 1,000 fine is a revenue expenditure because it is an administrative cost. So it is recurring in nature, and we are considering this expenditure as revenue expenditure, but whereas prepaid expenses are considered as asset and recorded in the balance sheet. Fire insurance rupees 1,000 was paid on 1st October 2021 for 1 year. Half of the insurance premium pertains to the year beginning on 1st April 2021. Hence, such amount should be treated as prepaid expenses. The remaining amount is revenue expenses for the current year. Okay, so we are looking at first year ending 31st March 2022, but fire insurance 1,000 was paid on 1st October 2021 for 1 year. Okay, before that should be recorded as revenue expenditure, prepaid expenses, and after that should be recorded as revenue expenditure. Temporary huts were constructed costing 1,200. They were necessary for the construction of that cinema hall. They were demolished when the cinema was ready. This is completely a capital expenditure because it is considered as the construction cost of the cinema hall. So it is capitalized in nature and it should be capitalized. Now coming to illustration 6. State with reasons how would you classify the following items of expenditure. Overhauling expenses of 25,000 for the engine of a motor car to get better fuel efficiency. This is enhancing the production capacity or working condition of the asset, so it should be capitalized in nature. Inauguration expenses of rupees 25 lakhs incurred on the opening of a new manufacturing unit existing is an existing business. Sorry, in an existing business. Inauguration expenses incurred on the opening of a new unit may help to explore more customers. This expenditure is in the nature of revenue expenditure, as the expenditure may not generate any benefit to the business over more than one accounting period. So, inauguration expenses, which are like for starting the new business, we have we have incurred those expenses. So, it is kind of a revenue expenditure, and it is incurred just to attract more customers or just to bring more customers to the business. So it is considered as revenue expenditure, and it is related to one accounting period only, but not more than one accounting period. Compensation of 2.5 crores paid to workers who opted for voluntary retirement. The amount paid to workers on voluntary retirement is in the nature of revenue expenditure. Since the magnitude of the amount of expenditure is very significant, it may be better to defer it to over future years. So here it is based on the materiality of the amount. We are classifying the expenditure. If the amount is material, then we are classifying it as a capital expenditure. But the nature is revenue expenditure. But as amount is big or as amount is large, so we are classifying it as a capital expenditure and deferring it over a future years. Now coming to illustration 7, classify the following expenditure as revenue receipt or capital receipt. 10,000 spent as traveling expenses of the directors on trips abroad for the purchase of capital assets. We are spending the amount for purchase of capital assets, so obviously it is capital expenditure. Amount received from trade receivables during the year, it is current assets, so it is we are receiving within a one accounting period, so it is revenue receipt. Amount spent on demolition of business to construct a bigger building on the same site, so it is construction cost of the business, so it is capital expenditure. Insurance claim received on account of a machinery damaged by a fire. Machinery is an asset and it is long term investment, so it is capital expenditure, sorry, capital receipt. Measures A, B, C and company run a restaurant. They renovate some of the old cabins. Because of this renovation, some space was made free and number of cabins were increased from 10 to 13. The total expenditure was 20,000. Renovation of cabins increased the number of cabins. This has an effect on the future the revenue generating capacity of the business. Thus, this renovation expenses is capital expenditure because it is increasing the earning capacity of the business. So, it is classified as a capital expenditure. New Delhi financing company sold certain goods on installment payment basis. 5 customers did not pay installment. To recover such outstanding installments, the firm spent 10,000 on account of legal fees. It is expenses incurred to recover installment due from a customer do not increase the revenue earning capacity, and it is the day-to-day expenses of the business. It is only the expense like activity of the business because it is a financing company. So it is normal activity of the business. So we will classify the legal expenses incurred in this case as revenue expenditure in nature. Ballab and Company of Delhi purchased a machinery from Shah and Company of Ahmedabad. Ballab and Company spent 40,000 for transportation of such machinery. The year ending is 31st December 2022. The transportation expenditure is classified as capital expenditure because that expenses whichever we have incurred to bring the asset to the working condition is called as capital expenditure. Okay. So this is overall brief overview of capital expenditure or revenue expenditure and capital receipt or revenue receipts. So in a summary, we can say revenue expenditures are shown in the profit and loss account while capital expenditures are placed on the asset side of the balance sheet since they generate benefits for more than one accounting period. Prepaid expenses are future expenses that have been paid in advance. These are shown in the balance sheet as an asset. Receipt obtained should be classified between revenue receipt and capital receipt. Okay, and you have test your knowledge and some more multiple choice questions all in study material. You can go through it, and if you have any doubts, please ping me in chat box or ask your questions in comment box so that I can answer all your questions. So stay tuned for more such videos and subscribe to my channel, and tata, bye bye.